Don't try harder. Don't try my life
Yeah.
out. It helps.
Yes, right. Yeah. We're all in different places with it. All right, time check again. All right. Alrighty, well, it is that time for us to get started. Hi, guys. Thank you all so much for coming. Welcome to Creators Ask a Therapist. If you're not looking for that panel, then you're in the wrong place, but I hope you stay anyway because we're going to have a good time. So we're going to start off by hearing a little bit about Dragon Con's charity this year.
All right, so this is particularly cogent for our panel. We are working with NAMI, which is a mental health organization that is raising funds to do some really good work. And though it is often easy to think that the amount you're able to contribute won't make a difference, it's important to remember that DragonCon is going to match us dollar for dollar. Originally up to $1,025, but they have raised it to $1,050. So
Hey.
the ability to have twice the impact and twice the help for anything you do doesn't come very often. I strongly suggest it. Double the good you're doing in the world. Help us support NAMI and help us support everyone else who's struggling with their mental health.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Would you like to start by introducing yourself?
Hola, my name is Jeffrey Nix. I do some writing. Most of it is posted chapter by chapter online. In my day job, I am an industrial organizational psychologist. So even though I'm not a therapist, I often talk to people about how the work part of their life impacts their mental well being and some of the ways that changing the way you work can change your burnout. Studies have shown that the relationship you have with your manager can be as impactful to your mental health as the relationship you have with your partner.
It's true.
Hi, my is this on? Nope. Well,
Oh,
may I,
no, you're
I can
still
talk really loud, but I don't think anyone wants me to be yelling at y'all. But hi, good evening. My name is Erin Taylor, and I am a mental health therapist. I come from Colorado, where I am licensed as a professional counselor. And I know, like, depending on where you live in the United States, an LPC can vary depending on the state. However, it just means I think it's the same in Georgia too, but um, I'm allowed to work independently and diagnose. I currently work in a community mental health agency, and I work with adults out in Colorado Springs, and I've been doing that almost 20 years now. Um, thank you. I call it my big girl job, and I absolutely love it. But my side job, my side hobby is I am a paranormal investigator and an author. So
Yes.
I do have some things that I'll be selling, as well as I have my sixth book that is coming out just in a couple weeks. So I'm stoked about that. But yeah, I'm just really happy to have been invited here and be able to talk to you all.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So mine's on, right? Yeah. So I'm Nick Lyle. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor, a certified dialectical behavior therapist,
Woo!
a certified sex therapy informed professional. I am also an actor and a cosplayer, and as of very recently, I am now a published author. And so my first publication is actually like very relevant to this panel because it is progress loading next level to-do lists. And so what this is I am a person with ADHD and autism, and I created tools to help me organize my brain, and then I realized that they might be helpful for other people as well. So the whole point of this book is to be able to take the shame away from standard having to do 100% of a task to check it off. It's all about actually seeing your progress and what you're actually getting done so that you can be proud of yourself.
Awesome.
Yeah. So for this panel, an important disclaimer, an important thing to know, we are mental health professionals. However, we are not your therapist. So if you need a therapist, if you need support around that, we can have conversations around that. But what we're doing right now is just an opportunity to just kind of give support, talk about things that like we know that might be helpful for you, hear things from you that might be helpful for other people, and really just kind of have a conversation about like what does it mean to be a creator if you're a content creator or if you're just a creative. Like what does it mean to be a creative and be making things but also be a human with like real mental health, right? And like stuff that's going on in your day-to-day life. So we have a mic here in the center if anyone wants to come up and ask questions. this panel will flow the best if people ask questions, but I mean, we can also kind of ask each other questions, talk among ourselves if we need to. But yeah, so we'll just kind of open up the floor, and anything anyone wants to kind of like chime in on, we got a mic right there.
Nick, how do I make my hair look like yours?
I would offer you a hair product that I use, but I see that there is a little impasse here.
Hi.
Hi.
I lost my voice last night. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm so with you. Mine's like tweaking in and out.
I'm on my last leg with this voice. But anyway, I was curious about how dealing with like inspiration and like ideas that you have. Like I personally am a writer, and like sometimes I think of things and then I open Instagram and I see like someone else doing that thing that I thought of that I thought was original or something. You know what I'm saying? So like it honestly like discourages me sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It makes me feel like well, nothing that I think of is raw or real or like for real, you know? Because somebody's already out there like relating to other people and doing it already. So like, how do you work with that? How do you keep going after like feeling so discouraged by people doing what you thought was like an original idea to you?
Yeah. No, that is such a great question. I'm glad that you brought that up because that's a real thing, right? Like a lot of people struggle with that. It's like you see it and you're like, well, should I still do it? Like I know I didn't steal it from them, but what if they think that I do? Or what, like it's already out there and it's something that I want to create. And one of my favorite things that I think about on that is from the Sondheim musical Sunday in the Park with George. There's a line of like, like there's nothing. It's something along the lines of like, there's nothing that's already been said, and she's like, but said by you though. In the sense of just like it's not up to us to decide what's new. Let others decide. They already do basically, and it's sort of the sense of like if you have something that is like bubbling up inside of you, if it's something that you're wanting to create, no one else is doing it or saying it the way that you will. Exactly. Like we are all so unique and so powerful and incredible and brilliant. Like if you're a person who is creative and wants to create, like what you're creating is going to be new because it's going to have your energy, like your soul in it. And the world needs that. And that's why it's bubbling in you.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you.
I also have a couple of thoughts around it too. One of the things to consider is the goal does not always need to be to make something new if your passion is to create. It is absolutely worthwhile to write fan fiction if it brightens up your day and to never share it with
does.
anyone. Um, if if your goal is to create a product that you're going to set to market, then maybe you have to be a little bit concerned about copyright issues. But even then, I cannot. So the latest Superman movie, I've heard everyone I've talked to say that it was amazing and it filled them with joy. I see you. Um, how many times do you think a director has said, "Well, you know what? Someone's done Little Shop of Horrors before. I should probably not make this play." Everyone loves remakes. They're also an incredibly valid way to learn. Michael Bublé famously said, like, yeah, I get a lot of crap because I don't do old Frank Sinatra songs anymore. But there is a time in my career where making Frank Sinatra in my voice was teaching me my voice and how to eventually make the music that came from me. There's something called optimal distinctiveness, where people are trying, usually this describes a social group, where you are trying to find a group of people that is similar enough to you that you belong, you're in a community of like minded, but you want to be distinct enough that you're a meaningful individual and you have something to add. And it's always very interesting because you can watch people in large crowds and you can say, everyone going to the Georgia football game today is probably wearing a polo in the color red. Most of them have socks that are very high up on their calves, but there will be something optimally distinct about them, just distinct enough that they're not part of the out group. But maybe they're the funny one. Maybe they're the one that says, "Yay, go sports!" But they actually really do love sports. So making something optimally distinct is super useful because you already know someone's going to like it. Unironically, check out Chuck Tingle. He's mostly known for his Mimi book covers. His horror novels are unironically excellent and have phenomenal LGBTQ representation. But of every creator
Chuck
I know,
Tingle.
Chuck Tingle, his covers are hilarious and a lot of they're ridiculous erotica titles. But he is, of every creator I've ever heard, the most universally consistently positive about the fact that living to exist and creating a breath is a creative endeavor that is worth it. If you're going to go the extra mile and make a book, I don't give a damn if anyone's made something similar. That is well worth doing.
Yep. Woo!
Yeah, I have to agree with my peers up here that if you've got something to say, just say it. I mean, I can tell you talking about ghosts and everything. That's the same stories over and over and over again, but it's how you tell it and how you make it your own. And that's really that passion that will be the drive. Because anyone can write a story, but not everyone can tell it.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
My name is Richie. I'm a theater kid. I wanted to ask you guys a question from a mental health perspective personally. Um, how do you guys make that separation when it comes to personal relationships, when it comes to how to separate yourself from negative energy when it comes to relationships, even on set? Because I know you're an actor, without being pretentious or like sanctimonious. How do you guys draw that line when it comes to stepping away and being like, I can't help this person. I need to separate myself from my own mental health. Like, how do you guys distinct the relationships in your life when it comes to self-preservation? That's my question for you guys.
When y'all want to start?
I can go ahead. I can start it on this. So boundaries is one of those like magical words that I've had to learn along the way. And it wasn't easy at first because we go into this field wanting to be able to help others. I mean, especially if you've got a good heart and you're empathetic. Of course, you see someone struggling, especially and it's a loved one. And one of the biggest things that was taught to me when I was in graduate school was not having dual relationships because we can't be a therapist, right? Like you say that we can't be a therapist to you, and where having that separation where my husband's in the crowd, he'll absolutely tell you it's like there's times where I can help, but then it's to use your the spidey senses start tingling and going, this is that barrier. And it's just knowing where is your line that you can be that compassionate person for someone versus when you're like, this is beyond me, where, I just can't do it. And it's like boundaries with anyone else, like someone who just comes up to you in a grocery store and says, hey, how's it going? So it's knowing what are those, and especially knowing yourself, because what one person might be able to handle, someone else might not be able to.
Yeah, that's a really good point on like knowing what your capacity and your lines are specifically.
Sure.
Yeah, and especially like, for actors and stuff like that, it's important for you to know
Thank you.
what you need for your own mental health, like backstage or on set and stuff like that, and realize that like when you're going to do something like that, you're essentially doing a job, even though you might not be getting paid, or you might be, and it's creative and it's fun and it's social, it also is work, right? And so it's really important to pay attention to like yourself, and if you know you need 15 minutes of silence, no one to talk to you before it's lights up kind of thing, like to really realize that, set that boundary with everyone. If you need to bring earplugs, if you need to bring an eye mask, if you need to bring little fidget toys, like setting your own boundaries and stuff like that is so crucial, because people need to realize and see it consistently, because when they do, then they respect it. But if we're wibbly wobbly with it and they don't really know, well, sometimes you let me talk to you before the show, but sometimes I feel like you're being mean because you are like giving me the cold shoulder. If you're like, nope, 15 minutes before every show, it's earplugs in, then they know and they respect it. And so a lot of times it's just like finding those like specific things that are like your needs and protecting them first can be a really good way.
Yeah, and something that is an interesting dichotomy that a lot of people have trouble straddling is in the context of theater, your ability to set personal boundaries are also mitigated by your need to fulfill a professional role. So Adam Grant is one of my favorite organizational psychologies. He's bolder and better than me at organizational psychology. He has a bunch of great
Judgment.
podcasts. Say again.
Judgment. I was using DBT.
Fair enough. But he has an excellent podcast. He has some that are interesting where it talks about like what is bringing yourself to work and what are the parts of yourself that are appropriate to bring to work when you have other people that are going to have to be around you too, because I can't bring my incense burner, especially to a room with people who are likely neurodiverse. So there is a very real part of you that has to make some accommodations. If your silence before going on set is the absolute silence of the grave, you don't get to have it. It's a public space. You don't get to decide if other people are allowed to breathe or make boards creak. But you do still get to decide which parts of yourself are yours, and you can find ways to find the spaces where your boundaries are acceptable and appropriate. So maybe you have to figure out that there's a bathroom that's rarely used before set, and you can go there for your time. I think a big one is if you can, trying to decide your boundaries before you're in the moment. Once you have the stress going and you have the social pressure, it's going to be very easy to waffle or to take an emergency exit that's the most expedient and not the best. I also think that in terms of transparency, when something truly is a personal boundary and not a work boundary that someone needs to be aware of, I think that there's also room to not have to tell people exactly what or why. If you need to come in with an emergency escape hatch and say, oh, I'm sorry, I need to study, that's completely fine. You don't have to give yourself a reason. If you're fulfilling your role in the space, you don't have to do more than that. If you perform excellently on stage and you are a professional coworker that does not make other people's life hard, that's all you got to do. And if someone's like, but I really need to talk, I got it, man. It's not something I can do. You don't need to explain. If they ask why, you're like, not really something I feel like talking about. And if you're worried about any of those situations, emergency escape hatches are great. I have to study. I have a call coming. I've got a meditation challenge, and this is the only 15 minutes where I can get ahead of Daryl, and I'm really not about to lose $20. All of it is fair game, in my opinion.
I got to get my steps in.
Thank you guys for the awesome advice, and I will leave the person to the next question.
Thank you.
So I make a lot of just like short form, funny content, but I also make a lot of psychology content on like a different account. And usually when it comes to like all my short form and funny content, it's relatively fast, it's easy to make, but it's not as much like ideas and flowing. And when it comes to my psychology content, there's obviously never nothing to talk about with psychology, but I get there and like I get in front of the camera, I'm like, okay, it's time to record. And I just have like no energy at all. And it's like I'm trying to stay consistent, but I also don't want to get burnt out. And I'm not sure how I get burnt out because like I'm making the content on not like this is a day-to-day thing, it's super hardworking, it takes like, of course, psychology content takes a lot of energy. I'm talking a lot. I have to put a lot of, effort into it more than I do like short form content. But like I get there and I'm just like, I feel so burnt out, even though it's something I enjoy and there's something I have a ton of resources to do, but like I just can't bring myself to make the content that I want to make.
Yeah. So something that I find really helpful for that is like, and this is like a thing that I was taught in one of my recent trainings on like working with like being neurodivergent and stuff like that, but it applies for everybody, which is breaking things down to how exactly did I do that? And so like if there's a time where you had fun with it, it can be really helpful to think about like how exactly did I have fun? And really figuring out like what were the fun components of it to me to be able to tap into like what am I actually going to get energy from. And so like for me, if a song that I like is playing, I become a new man. Like it will totally like rewire me. I get so excited. And so for me, if I want to get into a space where I can like jump into character, jump into, doing something like that, it helps me to put some music on, bounce, really get into something that I love. And for some people that might be music, it might be singing, it might be playing a video game, it might be going outside, putting your feet in the grass, like connecting to the exact moments where that you're drawing energy from something instead of putting energy out can be really helpful, because we sometimes need to like a Pokemon who has to charge up for one round before it can like hit the hyper beam, sometimes we got to do our like drawing in moment, and then we can create the content.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. With being able to pull that energy, especially if you're looking at these, you're doing this as this is work and this is something I don't want to do, and it's already, feeling like dragging the feet. But it's yeah, what motivates you? What gets that energy up? So then you can say, okay, I am excited to get, and do this, and yeah, and maybe it is that there was a joke about the taking the steps, but it is just getting out fresh, and it's just that break away from things and like, okay, now I can get back into it. I would also say too is when you're feeling like that is just check your overall mood and how's your sleep, how's your eating, are you taking care of yourself,
Mhm.
because that really can have a big play in how you tackle the world.
Yeah. I don't know if you intentionally I don't know if you intentionally paused where you did on like the like I'm excited and then like and I get to do the thing. But also a good point is you don't have to be excited about the thing. You can just be excited.
Yeah.
And then also it's time to do the thing now, right? Cuz I'm a super stimmy person, so I'm a stand up. But like for real, if it's like, yeah, I got to play Just Dance for 10 minutes. I'm so excited. Okay, time to work, right? Like you can just carry that energy into it. You don't have to actually be excited about the project. You can just be excited because that's your emotion to have.
So this is something I say so frequently that I actually talked to someone in the vendor hall about how to make coins, and I'm thinking about making plastic eustress and distress coins and handing them out to people every time I talk about it again on a panel. But eustress and distress is negative, it harms you, it can actually cause damage to your heart. That is when you are stressed because you are avoiding a negative outcome, even if the negative outcome is I feel like I'm not making the things I want to. Eustress is the stress of having to push yourself hard to fulfill something you are excited about. It makes you happier, it reduces turnover, it means you often exceed your expectations. Some degree of that can be changed by framing. Because if you come to produce your content because you're afraid you're going to fail otherwise, that is distress. Distress will work for a very brief amount of time and
Very
it will
brief.
not continue. It will gunk up your engine. But if you can change things so that you get the eustress where you're excited to push yourself to achieve something, that can continue to last. A question that I've heard some business people ask to try to get themselves out of rep, because often we can think this is the right way I have to do something, this is how I've seen someone else do it, is what would this look like if it was easy? Ask yourself that question and really think on it. I had to do that for writing because I was at a point where I had 3 different spreadsheets pulled up. I tried to get my music right. I tried to have a timer that was rain sounds going on. And the sheer amount of weight it took to put all of that on was way too much. And I heard someone say, what would this look like if it was easy? And the answer was, I guess I would just do the brainstorming when I'm on the train and I don't want to make eye contact with people. And then I would do this, and it can solve the problem. If you're actually afraid of burnout, again, Adam Grant has an excellent episode about it. The demand control support model can be done by yourself. Reduce the demand, make sure you feel like you're in control and able to have efficacy and execute what you want, and then see if there are any ways to set up support for yourself. Some of that support, maybe get someone to be a hype man. If you could get Nick over there and you could have music, and I guarantee you could probably get them to dance through a take and give you energy for 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh, I love being a hype man. That's like my favorite job.
Yeah, and answer for almost anything that I have for people is always try significant but reversible experiments. Try something for what feels like a significant amount of time. Change your content, change your filming. You can reverse, you can go back. It's not the end of your life. Like none of us here has a foot in the grave yet. You can go back and remake yourself a million times. Look at how old Oprah was before she hit success. So try experiments until you can make it easy and you can make it eustress.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Hey y'all, my name is Jared, and
Jared.
in line with some of the questions before about like burnout and finding your voice and finding energy, I was curious y'all's thoughts on parasociality as
Mhm.
far as like wanting to be a creator, because like I want to be a creator and I want to potentially, like I don't know, obviously get value out of being a creator, but if not have it be my job, have it be like something of value like that. But I'm scared about not just the burnout, but sort of like the corporatification of it. Like as somebody who's computer science, you know, I used to do a lot of coding projects, but now that it's work, it's lost that soul. And I'm curious your thoughts about finding passion versus finding life's work, or how that intersects with parasociality and burnout. Kind of a lot, but
So when you say parasociality, do you mean a parasocial relationship where your audience feels like they have a relationship even though you've never met them?
yeah, but honestly, I guess I'm kind of maybe co-opting that term too much. Maybe more just the capitalismification of it, of like your relationship with your audience being motivated by money and rather than like pure passion, and just trying to find a passion that could be your life's work while trying not to let its soul die. That kind of aspect of it.
So one of the great things about that is when you look at studies for how we decide how common things are, what we see in media often does not change how we think the world works. There's some compelling evidence that video games there's competing evidence.
Yeah.
I like the studies that say video games don't make you more violent, but video games make you think violence is more commonly used. If you track what
Hmm.
media people consume, they will suddenly think crime is up. If the news
Right.
has more crime,
Yeah.
I bet that there are a lot of people who think there are way more Victoria's Secret models than not because they're in most commercials. Um,
Yeah.
all to say, if you are worried about the money you make becoming your primary motivator, it is unlikely that you're going to make a lot of money. It's really hard to make money being creative. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm really amped when I can get 2 entrees at Taco Bell off my Patreon money, especially right now after I've got a first book out and I had a month-long search where everything was going up. I was going to get a new cover artist.
Yeah.
Book 1 ran out on Patreon. I lost 2/3 of it, and I'm back at the point where I'm like, well, guess my sister, the lawyer, is still going to win at Thanksgiving. I haven't beaten this game yet.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. So, so if you make it for love of the game,
Yeah.
it's unlikely you're going to get so much money that you're going to go wild. And if
Yeah,
you do make
that's
a lot
not
of money,
familiar.
maybe make a commitment for yourself. You can look into effective altruism, which has phenomenal courses on earning to give and ways to maximize dollars spent per unit of good, and make the 10% commitment. 10% of anything you do make goes to charity. And if that makes you motivated to make money, absolutely, more power to you.
You nailed it.
Yeah, and I would really say that, just like, I mean, if you're creating stuff that like well, let me just ask, what type of content do you make?
I mean, like pretty small time now, but like I'm a musician and a little bit of a digital artist as well.
Woo!
But like I said, like with like remote job and computer science job, like the screen is becoming less attractive, which is why I've been focusing more on music recently. But I want to make like digital art again. I want to like reinvigorate the soul a little bit, but it's kind of hard when 90% of life is a screen, or
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the really important piece that you said there, like is the word soul that you just used, right? Like when we create art, we are putting parts of our soul into it, right? Like
Mm.
into your music,
Amen.
into what you're drawing. And I know that when we're really genuine and we're really loving what we're creating, that connects to like a soul echo in someone else, right? Like I love music that I can connect to, that I can
Mhm.
feel the lyrics
Mhm.
to, right? Like it, like in my body, in my system.
Yeah.
I like to read about characters that I can connect to.
Yeah.
And when you put your soul into it, there's more of like a purpose piece, because like the like monetary capitalism piece kind of plays to a lower tier on like the hierarchy of needs, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, sure.
the money piece is like,
Lower level
I got to
thing,
make sure I'm
totally.
okay, I can make sure I can get my second order at Taco Bell, right? Like it's the
Double beef
money
burrito.
piece
Yeah.
is more connected to like anxiety and like making sure that we're okay. But when you're creating because you love it and it has your soul in it, that pops you up here more to like self-actualization, right?
You can
and
feel it.
and that's when you feel it, right? And that's what people want. People want to see your music and see your art that has your soul in it, that has your like your self-actualized you. That's what they want to consume, because that inspires them to
Mm.
also be in their better self, their bigger self. And so then they're gonna buy it, they're gonna stream it, they're gonna follow you, because they're like,
Yeah.
whoa, your song just made me feel better. right? And whether that's because I'm sad and you made sad music and I connected and I felt catharsis, or you made happy music and it brought me up, it doesn't matter. If you're operating from that higher level where you're passionate and it has your soul, other souls will feel it.
Mm.
I also
That's a
got
beautiful way to
some
put it.
serious wisdom last night by a lovely lady in elf ears and sparkly stars on her face, where she was talking about how one of the things she had to learn in her process was to think of herself as a garden and not as a robot, and really think, what season am I in,
Mhm.
and what would grow in this season?
Yes.
Mm.
You might be in your season of music, and honestly,
Mm. I
it
like
might
that.
be sort of dumb if you tried to make graphic art during your music season. Go full bore. If you
Okay.
have passion, that's a phenomenal
Yeah.
gift. And there's also paradoxical therapies. I haven't been trained on this, but I've heard smart people talk about it. Don't let yourself make graphic art. You're not allowed for a month. See how much that makes you want to break the system and build it.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
But yeah, and
Interesting.
if this is your season for music, go hard, man. And maybe think about what season is good for graphic art. And as soon as you see the weather change, be ready to go for it.
Interesting. Okay. I
Yeah.
like that.
Maybe it's something like put it on a calendar. Like I'm going to revisit this in a month,
Yeah.
right? And you see that, and
Yeah.
it is that that date. And then if at that date you're like, you know what, I can keep going, then put it out.
This is my season for monologues, if you can't tell.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that for you. Thank y'all. That's
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
Hello. I was at your panel on Friday, and I'm going to kind of piggy off something that you had shared where you said sometimes when you're like in a low point in your life, you tend to create a lot more.
Mhm.
I'm very similar. I create all the time. Like I feel like I don't know how to stop. And within the last year, like I've been kind of dealing with a chronic illness that's been forcing me to like slow down, but I don't know how. Like I tend to use my art to and my creating to kind of process things and put all that energy into something.
Yeah.
Where my chronic illness is kind of forcing me not to do stuff like that as often. So I'm wondering if you had any tips on like how to kind of slow down like the constant creative gear in your head when like you physically like need to rest.
Yeah. Well, I think a really important thing that you're already winning at is realizing that your body is making a bid for your attention. Right? Like your body is asking for something of you, and you're acknowledging that it's important that it gets it. And that's so crucial. Like we really have to listen to ourselves. And it's like if there's pain, if there's exhaustion, if there's anything like that, to really be able to tend that garden, right? To send the love and the attention there. And I also just want to remind people that if your mind is being creative, it doesn't always have to come out. Like it can be such a beautiful thing to, if you need to rest, like lay down, put some music on and daydream. Like be creative. You know, like if you're someone who writes, go play with your characters, right? But like go play with your characters in your mind. Put them in new situations, see what they would do while you're resting your body, right? Like giving it what it needs. And then when you do have the time, when you have the energy to produce what it is, you'll be ready to go. You'll be like locked and loaded, right? And maybe it's even just creating a blueprint in your mind of like what you're going to sew next or what your next video would be. Like there are so many ways to do this. It's not just for writers, but it's like you can be an amazing creative without having to tax your body. And that's a really beautiful thing, because like your mind is the masterpiece, right? And that's what's really working.
Let me ask you this: does your creativity like significantly impact functioning day to day?
Well, I do costume design, so it's a lot of physical, I guess, creation. So like I have my day job that I do. Like it doesn't impact my daily life, but it does impact like how my body feels. Whereas like I'll go and like sew in my craft room for like 7-8 hours straight. Whereas like I like physically I'm like struggling to do that anymore, which I know it's like really not healthy to do it that kind of uninterrupted. But I guess similar to what Nick was saying, it's like the gear's going and like I feel like I need to put it out and like I can't.
Yeah, so I would say it's definitely finding something that you can't, like when you're physical, goes back to the word I used earlier, the boundaries. And when maybe your body is saying, hey, I need to take this break, you know, what other outlet can you do? Because if in your mind, you're like, hey, I'm being creative. I love this. Now, is it something where you do have to jot down notes or use some sort of like verbal notepad or something like that? And that's where it's like, I always ask about like the impact, because we look at like what is going on and then how that we can then work around it. And then maybe if you need to just let yourself be in that moment too and just be, that's okay, because then you're allowing your mind to have that break and just float, whether it's just mindfulness and good old imagining like being on like a river or creek bed is one of our stereotypical ones, but it's something where you can just be. Then you see how you are after that with that creativity and if it's just been refreshed.
So one of the things that I used to be very serious about was martial arts. I briefly was able to compete on the US national team and get sent to London. And something that I have heard people who are serious about any skill they're trying to grow, obviously couched in gym language, is never do something in the gym today that will stop you from training tomorrow. And part of that might be for yourself trying to really become active in learning where your limits are. Because if you do so for 7 hours and it means you have 2 days, then that will be a net loss for if you can do 3 hours consistently and sustainably. It may also be that you can increase the creative challenge in the sense of worth you get by trying to find ways to work around obstructions you make for yourself. For instance, if there are types of sewing that are particularly hard on you, if you can try to figure out how to make a costume without that sewing, that can be a fun puzzle and can lead you to learning all sorts of new skills. Talking to cosplayers, there are so many questions about what will stick to what that I never knew was a challenge before. And I bet you could lose hours or days trying to learn how to integrate that into your art and give yourself new horizons and new growth. Another thing to consider is a lot of times creativity is a component of a state that we call flow, which may also be called the zone. I am personally very convinced that some types of meditation like Zen and Wu Wei are also a different way of accessing the flow state, which is described by a lot of different measures and metrics, but I often sum down to what is the thing where you are so engaged in the thing you forget yourself. That has massive, massive benefits across the board, physical, mental health, because they're obviously intertwined. There is a possibility that you can scratch some of this creative itch by finding flow in a different area. And there are so many places where you can find it and so many opportunities. I would counsel that when you try to do that, it is worth remembering that a great deal of what you feel when you are sewing and crafting is familiarity and competence and not just flow. It is very easy to love something you have already learned to be good at. And it is very hard to go through the initial stages where you love something, but you can't execute what's in your head. And so if you want to experiment with some lower impact ways to hit that flow state and refresh yourself, as long as you're willing to get through the great murky middle, I think it's entirely possible that you could supplement this and find new creative obstacles to overcome and new ways to hit flow and feel refreshed no matter what.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I am a trauma and grief therapist who is also a creative, and I'm also autistic and ADHD. Woo, woo, woo. Level 2, thank you. No one would know, right? My question for y'all is, especially on the ADHD part of the autism, okay, is how do you stop creating such a large graveyard of projects? Yes, I know that hit for everyone in the room. When, especially like in the professions that we're in, and for me, like I deal with like complex PTSD, dissociation, like really severe cases. So when you're dealing with like, even just like regular burnout from your jobs, how do you find your energy and bring yourself back to that graveyard of like brilliant ideas and things that you want to create?
What's your field of creativity again? Because I may not know a damn
Any,
thing
mini,
about
miny, mo. So I originally have a BFA in music theater. So I'm very much a musician. I still perform vocal. But I like on the side of things, I'm definitely very much a writer. I do a lot of writing. I just started my podcast to kind of get back into like the theology part of myself. But I also just I don't know. I do everything. I dance and I do a lot of things, but mainly right now I'm really focused on writing. That's the big thing that I'm really going in on and trying to create some material and things like that.
Can one of you please be smart while I buffer for a second?
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that came to mind for me is that I feel like I know where you're coming from.
Mhm.
I mean, with mine is like more of writing, but like my graveyard, sometimes there's zombies, right? And they start crawling up, and then trying to figure out, do I want to bring them up? Do I want to, is it like maybe they're building a new house, somewhere in there. Sometimes it goes back to then what am I seeking? And am I doing some like serotonin mining as well? If I'm looking for something that's just going to give me joy, and I get the ADHD part of it, I get very excited and hyper focused, and then it goes to this little graveyard and it dies, and it's like 5 years later I go, oh crap, I never did that. So sometimes it goes back to, if you have these projects, it's okay, it's fine. You'll find those ones that goes back to those words earlier, passion, and what it is. If you are needing to write that song, then you're going to do a dance to it. And it could be, how do those puzzle pieces fit together? I'm using a lot of like metaphors right now. My clients will tell you that I do that, but it's finding again, what are those ones that are going to bring meaning to you? And it's also possible too that maybe it is that 5 year later project. You go, oh, hey, now it's been some time, I can revisit it as well. And we hear about that with the creative types. I always like to talk about my girl Taylor Swift, because talking about seasons, eras, is that she will pull from her life. She's like one big diary entry. And so it's looking, I guess it keeps going back to, where's your heart in that moment?
Yeah, and I really want to just validate that, like, it's okay to not finish something. It's okay to not go back to it. And I think a lot of times for like neurodivergent people, we can put a lot of pressure and shame on ourselves because we never did the thing that we wanted to, and sometimes that can feel really sad and that can feel really rough, right? But like, I mean, you heard just now that like you're not the only person with a graveyard of projects. Like a lot of us do it. It's like, it's normal, it's okay, it happens. Like if you've spent the money on it, you spent the money on it, whether you use it or not, it's gone. Like, and I just want to validate that, like, that's okay. And also, like, what I encourage people to do is to have a place where, so I have a page in it for my book where that it's called like brain tabs and computer tabs.
Oh yeah.
And if it's something you want to keep a tab open for, like, write it down and have a page for those brain tabs. And so it's not necessarily like a to-do list. It's a place of like things to think about again at some point in my lifetime and not forget about it forever. And it can be helpful to just keep a list of those, to where if you're feeling creative, you can go look at the list and see if you want to do something off of it. And so that can be kind of a helpful thing. It can almost be like a menu. But also, like, going back to that like garden example that you gave too, it can really just be like, what's blooming right now, right? And it might be like there's something in the back of your head that's like, remember all that money you spent on clay? Why are you not making little clay animals? You said you were going to make little clay animals. And meanwhile, in the back of your head, you're like, have a story that's like, please write me, please write me. And you're like, I'm so excited to write this, but the shame of this clay is killing me. I can't look at this clay anymore. And so what I would like to ask you to do is please put that clay somewhere where you cannot see it and write the story. Because when the passion for clay comes back up, you'll know it. And then you might not be able to find where you put it for a little while, and that's also okay. You might need to write down where you put it. But when the passion is there, you'll know it. And it's okay for the passion to not be everywhere that the little voice thinks it should be, because blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, crocheting's the current hyperfixation right now and gets in the way sometimes.
On guard, crochet. So I think there are a couple of ways to approach it, and I'm going to skew my answer a bit because of the emotional tenor that we've gotten from either of them. One thing that I had to do for myself personally is I also had the ADHD habit of picking up things. Like I've done 11 martial arts, bass guitar, ukulele, lock picking, blacksmithing, wood carving, furniture making, all sorts of stuff. And the amount of guilt I had over never getting to the point I wanted with any of them was serious. There is a very real way to follow your passions and let yourself work on what you're allowed to. But there is also, I don't think this is a completely true statement. And I think that this is a bit ableist, but it does have a grain of accuracy in it. I heard someone say, if you don't have time, it means you don't have priorities. I had all of those things that would bring me joy, but I would never get the joy of fulfillment, which after a lot of introspection, I figured out was very important to me. And so I triaged my hobbies. I have now started to do that every year. I came out of a period of burnout recently, and I had to do that with more things. I had to give up a couple of certifications I was very proud of. Pursuing but never getting. Because everyone loves to say like, "Oh,
Forever
hasn't-
EMDR trained. Thank you.
it hasn't happened yet," but I'm very interested in PMP.
Ooh,
So I went through and I had to decide which of these are most likely to give me joy, which of these will work with my skills, which of these don't involve me having to keep buying musical equipment. Because if you can avoid a hobby that makes you buy musical equipment, shoes, or
My poor
cars, you
dusty guitar.
absolutely should.
Yeah.
So I went through and I had to cut things, and I had a list, and right now my list says these are my 6 things that are allowed to be a priority. These are the 14 subunits that I actually need to do to execute those. One that has been very hard for me is my health is very important, and it leads into many things. But my capacity to go to martial art has travel time, class time, helping other people time. And it is now a privilege for me to go to a martial arts class versus doing exercises that aren't as fulfilling for me. Very difficult, but I need the writing time right now. So you can triage, and that can be helpful. I also think another super useful tool is a book by my friend over here that is
Yeah.
$5 plus a $20 purveyor fee.
LOL.
Gamification in writing, super useful. Brandon Sanderson uses it. I use it. If you look up conditional coding, you can find that easily in Excel. It'll make your boxes turn green if you make them a word count larger than something. Super helpful. The book Atomic Habits.
Oh yeah. Also, Power of Habit.
Yes, Atomic Habits is good. They've just put out a workbook to help make it work. It is predicated on BJ Fogg's Tiny Habits research, which might be useful if you've got a science brain. It is also very useful to go back and say, what would make this fun? Because again, the goal is to have eustress, and the goal is to make yourself joyful in what you're doing. And though you may have to focus on something to the detriment of others, you can absolutely do what I do, which is I don't want to write this chapter. I have thought about it. I can't think of a way to make my character mess up in a unique, riveting way. Like, what is the only way this person I have made would get confused and mess up this situation where no one else would? But I absolutely can say I haven't written a dick jokes in 3 weeks, so this chapter is getting a lot of eggplants in it, because that is the joy that will make me continue. There are other writing tips for figuring out when to cut scenes and when not to, which I'm happy to talk about afterwards. And if nothing else, you can learn yourself, and you can figure out what your cycle is for how long you can do stuff, and maybe see how much you can write in 2 months. Give yourself a 2-month sprint, and if that's how long it takes before you need to dance or sing again, make in 2 months what you can make in 2 months. That's who you are, and that's what you're capable of. And the more joy you find in those 2 months, the more it'll become a dirty little habit that'll take away from dancing and grow into 4 and 6 months. And it'll be the thing that you are procrastinating with instead of procrastinating away from.
I love that. Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry if this gets a bit heavy. I dropped out of a graphic design major due to imposter syndrome and immediately fell into a multi-year major depressive episode. And now, after several medications and several therapists, I'm mostly anhedonic, and I don't find joy in doing anything. But as the previous person said, the creative part didn't stop. So now I just have like a decade worth of ideas, and I'd like to find a way to break this cycle. But whereas previously, when I was exercising my work as an artist or doing stuff, you know, I would hate every 9 out of 10 drawings, and that 10th drawing would, you know, push me forward. Now that 10th drawing doesn't give me anything. So how do I keep moving forward when I don't enjoy the process anymore?
So I'm curious. You said that you don't enjoy the process, but your mind is continuously thinking about it.
Yes. So I have a very filled up notes app on my phone, mostly fantasy world building and escapism from my job when I'm just daydreaming. That's where all my ideas are. But when it comes to actually doing anything with them,
Mhm.
I used to do oil paints. I used to do watercolors. I used to do creative writing. Nothing hits anymore.
It would seem to me, and this is just me doing a shot in the dark here, is that you do still care. It's just the motion of putting it from here down into some sort of action, right? And so maybe it's not so much the anhedonia, but more of motivation. If that's something where, if like tackling on that, because again, whenever I hear of anhedonia, it's more of a, and y'all can, correct me on this, but that is just that your heart's not there. It's just not there. But I do hear that when you're speaking about it, you're like, I have years of this.
Well, and I'd like to do something with it because currently I'm doing nothing.
Mhm.
I'm going to work and I'm going to bed, and then I'm waking up and I'm going to work again.
So there's a creative barrier.
This is difficult for me to answer because I'm not a clinical person, and I am a firm believer that there are great hacks and tips and tricks that work for many people that are always predicated on a basic level of mental health that is not everywhere, even though we pretend like it is. I know lots of tips for people who are in a slightly different circumstance. So please feel free to cover your hand so the camera can't see it and flip me off if I'm making assumptions that aren't true about you. Sometimes the motivation can help, and sometimes the doing can make things more successful. I would often do studies on myself, and this has not worked for me personally. But one of the things that when I was very dedicated to martial arts, I found is that if I watched videos of people who are amazing dancers or singers, I had that picture of the meme in my head of the guy in the corner where he's like, they don't know that I'm really good at kicking bags that can't run away. And it would make me amped to show my physical capability. And often I would go and then I would be awful at it and feel like trash because that's a learning process. But I could cycle in motivator stimulators. However, they always go obsolete, so you always have to be on the lookout for new ones. Social media can be dangerous for this because it is very easy to find something that will motivate you to draw or to exercise, but it will very quickly give you comparison issues. And also, if you're someone who is male presenting and male identifying, it will very often take you to negative parts of the internet to try to talk about your work, your grind, and what really matters. So motivation stimulators can help. Lowering the threshold for entry, I think, is often incredibly useful. If you are an amazing oil painter, which you might very well be, it could be that maybe try to put 20 of your sketches out in drawing form, and then you can get more of your feelings out on paper. And who knows, maybe there's a chance that 6 successes will at least give you a cognitive understanding of feeling better. But my default reaction might be that there are still clinical things to address. I don't know how resisting your anhedonia is, and I don't know your journey to go after it, but it is.
My journey is currently paused due to a lack of funds.
Oh,
I had to stop therapy.
I understand the limitations there.
Mhm.
There are very, very obvious answers people give that have so much buried difficulty to get to them. I know fish oil has helped some people that I am aware of who have anxiety and depression. It is much more affordable than pharmaceuticals. Depending on who you are, a high dose of high quality omega 3s can have near pharmacological effects. I know that similar effects can happen from people who use cold plunges, as well as people who use saunas, because they activate the same stressors in your body that rigorous exercise would. Because even though we all know we're going to exercise, it's very hard. Access to a sauna can sometimes be done if you can find a local gym. I found one in a church that was very cheap. Interestingly enough, if you do that, it'll also stimulate your endurance system so that you can have a 60% increase in rental exhaustion rate. Those can be less pharmacologically intensive ways to try to give yourself a boost and help. You can also look into the Ologies podcast. It's difficult to spell, Udemiology, which works with the creator of the Happiness Lab, who talks about some of the science behind what can force healthy brains to be happy, which often go into the fields of exercise, pro-social behavior, community, and some other things. And I don't know if quantity could help where other things won't, but it might be that focusing on a way to be happy will unlock your creativity and not focusing on a way to be creative when you're unhappy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
Okay.
Like Mike.
I can't be like Mike. He's the original.
Mm.
Okay. Where do I even start? There's so much junk going on right now. I am a fanfic creator. Woo!
Heck yeah.
Yes. And I've been on hiatus for over 7 years because I literally have crippling depression.
Mhm.
The meme. Okay, so how it started is I am a caretaker for my mom, who is a disabled veteran. Wouldn't be so bad if she wasn't so needy all the time, because yeah, she's very dependent, though I don't blame her for it. She has multiple sclerosis, which means she really needs my help, so on and so on. And long story short, I have a hard time wanting to do the things I want to do without the crippling thought coming in saying she might need my help. I don't have time to build up the motivation, stimulation, and inspiration to actually get back into writing. And even though I have a constant factory that is cooking on overdrive and refuses to take a vacation, even though I constantly tell it to, I digress. I still have the creative mental capacity, but I do not have the willpower to actually get over my crippling depression to actually want to write without being halted by those constant thoughts.
So I actually have a very good one for this, and I should have given it to our friend, the graphic designer, as well. My partner works at a company called Charlie Health. They are specifically
Yes.
focused in digital outpatient therapy. You may need a referral to get in, but you can do it uh, intensive program with many hours of therapy, 100% digital from where you are. Depending on the insurance your mother has as a disabled veteran and your age, you may be able to get in under their programs. I also know that they are extremely talented. If you cannot qualify for your program, to help you try to find local resources that will help you. It is entirely possible you may need to apply to Medicaid or some other form of insurance to help cover the costs, because it's not cheap. But if you can find some way to get insurance that will help, or even if you just want to call so one of their admissions coordinators can give you resources, that is an excellent way to try to get therapy while minimizing the amount of effort you do to go outside and see the person, or to get it, or to fix your depression so you can get a job, so you can get insurance, so you can get therapy. And that might be a great way for you to have some support for your mental health while still being present for your caregiver and not having to, again, need the therapy to leave your mom, so you can leave your mom and get therapy.
Yes, absolutely. Charlie Health, that's the name of that again, is a wonderful organization. I also highly recommend. Yeah.
Because my whole process is like there's a lady who had ADHD and autism.
All of us.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wouldn't describe my creative stuff being as a graveyard. More like my motivation and inspiration is like an air balloon, and like I'm an air balloon, and the motivation and inspiration just blows me into that area. And as soon as I run out of helium or air, I land, and then I go on hiatus. And I'm like, wait, I live here now. I live here now, and I've been living here for like 7 years. And my other stuff has been sending postcards, wondering, hey, when are you coming back home to finish this? Oh yeah, I did that one thing, didn't I? I started this journey. I'm like, huh, let me go back home.
Start doing experiments. I cannot tell you how many books are written 13 minutes at a time. And you may need to figure out, some people have great success playing a singular song when they work, so that they can start getting Pavlovian conditioning that makes them realize this is the time I do things. There are app blockers that can work, particularly if someone's a writer. Another way that you can try to take advantage of your motivation, there are several decent text to talk translators that will then only require you to use Command F and formatting on them. But Mary Robinette Kowal is very famous for saying that when she was in the depths of depression, one of her rules was, you can always write. I don't know if it's 13 words or 13 minutes, but she has had incredibly successful novels that no one ever knew were made 13 words at a time. It is possible, it is valid, it will make you feel like you are not as good as you are supposed to be. But again, the creative act of being alive and creating a breath is something that many people will never realize how hard it is. And you have created something amazing that might be the equivalent of what it takes for me to write a book, just for you to have shown up in your awesome costume.
But what about those thoughts that when you're really getting ready to get started, or like when you're on the blank page and you're really getting ready to get started, but you stop, and you get like you get blank when you start a new test, and you're like, wait a minute, did I study for this? And you start to panic a bit, or when you just go blank.
This is a two-part process with your current self and your future self. You will be your editor later. Your editor cannot work if they do not give you something to edit. You will always have more experience reading than you will have writing. You will read something and you will know where and when it is wrong and what is good. If you produce enough words, you will find the good words, but you need to produce something for your editor to look at. And many people talk about creating their bad first draft. That is the process. That's what you need, and it will play into all of your strengths. Make your goal to make your bad first draft, not to make your product.
And then we're going back to that crippling again, the crippling
I'm not
thoughts.
sure we
One more,
can.
one more, one more.
We are
Again,
out
going
of
back to
time.
the
Oh, are we
cri-
out of
oh,
time? I didn't see the sign.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry,
you can
I am
come up
hyped
to-
right now.
Yeah, you can come to us afterwards, and I'm happy to keep talking.
Okay, so we're out of time.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's.
Peace. I'll be here all day.
All right. Let the people know again who you are and where they can find you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, this time went really fast tonight.
Yeah.
Erin Taylor. I am at ErinTaylorAuthor.com. I'm also on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and yep, like I said, I have a few copies of my Shadow Zine on Colorado Mining Towns Haunted, and be here for a few minutes afterwards, answer any questions.
Mid-apocalyptic urban romantasy, cozy quasi-horror. All of it is on my website. Right now, all of it is free. I have a QR code up here, or jeffreynix.com. If you would only have one Google in you, please do Google what's going on with Amazon and Audible and how they are shuffling funds away from audiobooks to start up a new program. Daniel Green and John from Falstaff Books have great videos. I would much prefer for you to sign the petition so that I have a place where I can make money and make this my career than I would for you to read my stuff today. So if you could, it would be greatly appreciated by me if you're willing to lend your signatures.
Thank you. I'm Nick Lyle. My book is Progress Loading, Next Level To-Do List. You can find it on Amazon.com, or if you'd like to get a copy today, they are $5 and you may come up here. Yeah, thank you.